Hello everybody and welcome to a very special edition of the Sideline Eye podcast. We're back in Cullyhanna here for another live preview show. I'm delighted to be joined by three men that know all about the big day. It's Benny Tierney, Kernan and Paudie McCreesh. We're of course looking ahead to the All-Ireland Intermediate Club final coming up on Sunday, and I'm delighted to have a packed house here in Cullyhanna. So we'll get right into it. Paudie, I'll let the club man speak first. An Ireland final for Cullyhanna, what does it mean to the club? How has it been since you got there?
Oh, just massive excitement. Probably if you were in Navan on Saturday, you would have seen the crowds, the hordes coming down from Cullyhanna. I don't think there was too many people left in Cullyhanna on Saturday. Just the joy and excitement whenever that final whistle went. It's something that we've never experienced before. We're not used to competing at this sort of level and this sort of competition, so it's just great to see, and it's great for us, like a small rural village like ourselves, to be competing at that standard. It's really important, and you can see it in the boys that's playing. Every interview that they had done after the game, they were very quick to point out, the support that the supporters have been giving them. It really means a lot to them, and in a tight game it's sort of giving them an extra 5-10% to get them over the line. The whole community has been rallying around, getting behind us. They left the boys to crash this morning up in happy faces in the bridge, and I couldn't believe it. There was Cullyhanna flags and button out. I don't know if Barry Campbell agreed to that. It must have been Fiona. I couldn't believe it, but it was great to see, and they were doing a Cullyhanna jersey day, and then went on in the cross, and Barry McConville's face was in every shop front. It was great to see. So it's just given the real community a great lift, and it's great times for Cullyhanna the last couple of weeks, and we don't really want it to end, but we want to have it a good happy ending there on Sunday, hopefully.
Your jersey got, Benny?
My jersey got? Well, Harlan and Wolf are making it at the minute, I think. No, listen, I can understand the excitement going through Cullyhanna at the minute. We were lucky enough as a club, took it through it, it's nearly, 28 years ago or something, nearly 23, 24 years ago. They say we didn't get as far as the final, but I can remember vividly the journey, and we always talk about the journey, and probably Aaron will cement that as well, with the journey that he went on and across. That this is a year that will be remembered from the ages of 3 to 4 to 84 and 85, because it just permeates the club, the excitement, the level. I'd say the primary school is going ballistic in there, even though there's a Tyrone man in there as principal. But I hear he's closing the school on Monday, but I'll report him for doing that. It's something very special, and Paudie, you said it comes around once in a lifetime, and it's very important to take that in and enjoy it and feel all those great emotions. There's men in this room who've played football for Cullyhanna many, many years ago, and I can guarantee you they're equally as excited as the men are pulling their jerseys on Sunday, because it came from here, it came from them, and it's been passed down generations. And it's very important that the whole club and the community, and especially the children, and the children are very important in this, because when they see this, they'll want to replicate this excitement. So it's a massive day for Cullyhanna, and I only wish that our club was involved in it, as will anybody else. But there's a bit of jealousy there, but there's a lot of goodwill. There's a lot of goodwill from South Armagh out there towards Cullyhanna, and genuinely hope that it's a big night in Cullyhanna on Sunday.
What's it like, Aaron? You've been there more than one occasion. What's it like getting your club to Croke Park and to an All-Ireland final?
It's unbelievably special. Benny just hit on something there, and I was talking to Stafford just as he was coming in, and it's something that has always stuck with me. I can remember as a 12-year-old, it was the old Hogan stand at that stage, and the tunnel was down in the canal end, but I can just remember seeing a group of boys from the Crossmaglen jersey coming running out onto Croke Park, the hair standing in the back of your neck, and all of them as a kid, and wanting at that stage, all you wanted to do was skip forward 7 or 8 years to get the opportunity to try and do it. And for these people here now to literally be sitting in the Hogan stand, the biggest stadium in Ireland, and in a few days' time they're looking at a crowd of boys who are their sons, their friends, their cousins, nephews, whatever, coming out of the Hogan stand onto Croke Park. It's amazing. It's literally the absolute pinnacle that you can get as a club. And it doesn't end really at the weekend. For me, at that stage, as a 12-year-old, that's where my sights were then set. I had a probably genuine belief then that, well, I know these people, I've seen them doing it, it's achievable. That puts a bit of pressure on, say, these Cullyhanna boys this weekend, but the players will be away and sheltered from it, but it's these people here, the families, and as Benny said, the kids who are coming up. Time's flying for them now. All they want is Croke Park this weekend, and it's a special time and a really, really special week for them.
The kids, Paudie and the young fellas, I think Bishy was bringing the minor team in here tonight to get them a taste of it. So that's who it's for. That's you're trying to build a new generation. Obviously, there's history been made already for Cullyhanna with the first club to win from Armagh to win Ulster at intermediate level. So bringing through the next generation, this is all inspiration for them.
Obviously, Aaron's touching it there. Probably Cross would be the most obvious club that you think of, that they had that shop window of their senior team performing really well, and then that fed then through their underage teams, and those boys just want to aspire then to be like their older brothers or their older cousins or uncles, and we have that now. Now hopefully we can get the win on Sunday, obviously, but like we're going to be proud of the boys as it is, you know, because if they've had an unbelievable year. Just winning on Sunday would be the icing on the top, but already having the boys in the All-Ireland final, that's going to give our younger boys confidence. They want to replicate that down the line, and I can see it just as only a positive thing for our underage teams moving forward, you know, in the coming years. So it's all good from our end, like. So no, we're happy with the boys' progress. It's going to help this club massively over the coming years, and hopefully we just get the win on Sunday, you know.
On Aaron, there's getting there for the first time and everything. There's nerves, there's tension, there's excitement. It's how do you deal with all that emotion? There's a lot of players getting to play in Croke Park for the first time, getting the club colours in Croke Park. Like it's an exciting time, but I'm sure there's nerves as well.
There's a fine line between letting players enjoy the build up to it and then not losing sight of why they're really there. It's very hard to do that whenever you're in smaller communities, because regardless of where you go now, all everyone wants to do, and it's the best will in the world, they just want to talk to you about the game, how things are going. You know, you have to try and park yourself a wee bit. Sure, look forward to it, but these boys have a job to do. But to be fair, they've a couple of great local men who are over them, who've taken them from successful underage teams right up. Obviously Kieran's experience in terms of obviously being a county player himself, and Malachy, but him in terms of coaching as well. That'll be massive, that they'll tap into that there, that you give them enough, that they enjoy it, but you can't lose your focus, because ultimately, as much as Everton is building and Everton has been good this year, you still want to go out and perform on the biggest stage and win, or even, it doesn't even matter if you don't perform as long as you win. So that's pressure, but it is something to be enjoyed. And to be honest with you, it wouldn't matter how many times you go there to Croke Park. You're excited, but you're sick to the pit of your stomach. Benny will tell you as well. Like, I don't know how many times I sat there and genuinely I'd be just saying, why am I putting myself through this? Like, you know, that hour before, your stomach's turning, you're nervous, you're going to the toilet, you're coming back again, you're just nothing changes. But to be honest, once you get out onto the field, the ball is thrown in, you're gone. That's it. You know, you're just in the zone. You know what it's about. It sounds basic. It's only another game of football, but it takes the game to start to get to there. It's the nerves maybe in the build-up or getting sidetracked, where you know you can waste a lot of energy. But if they can keep that to a limit until the ball is thrown in, and like I say, everything else will take care of itself after that.
Benny, how were you an hour before a big game? Were you nervous, calm?
Every team has characters, and there are some quiet ones and there are some people who don't want to talk. I would have been around being a nuisance and chatting to everybody, but I think everybody needs that as well. The bus needed it as well on the way down. You don't want 15 Aaron Kernans, but you certainly don't want 15 Benny Tierneys, because you wouldn't get the two. You get the finals with him, but you'd have no crack. But you get to no finals with me, but you'd have great crack. Listen, Joe used to give me the heads up, you know, big games in Croke Park. You go, right, Benny, that's you now. So then I would go into quiet mode, like sort of quieter. But listen, it is that balance, and you do need the characters. You can't have everybody not talking or everybody quiet. So you do need that sense of people talking to each other, enjoying the occasion. Aaron said the balance between enjoying it and focus is very important. My own personal thing was that I would take in the experience. Not every play. Like, I walked behind Kieran McGeeney's eyes never left the ground in front of him. You know, you nearly had to direct him or he'd have walked into the holding stand. Whereas I'd have been looking up there and waving and, oh, look, there's... And some boys used to slag me to say I was looking for the burger van in Croke Park. But for me personally, I was enjoying it. I was that type of personality. There's not too many like that. There were people who would be physically sick before games. There were people who didn't want to speak to anybody, towels over their heads and different stuff. But that's the variety of life. That's personalities. That's everybody's different. But the one thing that you know we can all say, that the minute you went out onto the pitch and the minute the ball was thrown in, every one of us was as equal as a competitive animal. You know, I wanted to win as much as anybody, but in the lead up, my preparation would have been slightly different, but not going outside the remit of doing anything wrong or doing anything silly. But hugely, I loved the whole occasion of it, the build-up, everything like that there. My biggest problem was that I couldn't. We were being sheltered in big games. You were being sheltered, so you weren't really allowed to talk to anybody. I would have spoken to anybody and embraced the whole situation. But loved it. The one thing you do miss when you do retire from football, Aaron's only just retired recently. Paudie retired this year. Great timing, Paudie. There's no coincidence that you're now in an All-Ireland final, all right? When you do retire, you know, that end of playing, there's no experience like it. There is never an experience like it. You know, you can go on through life, through work and through family and everything else, and you will get highs and lows with that. But that excitement and walking on to Croke Park on Sunday and just taking it in. When I go into games now, you get a wee, oh God, this is what it was like. In fact, when I went to watch Armagh in Croke Park against Galway a couple of years ago, I felt like a child again, because I'd never really got that experience of a big game in Croke Park with Armagh without playing it, and then to watch it, I was a nervous wreck and totally different to the person who was playing in it than the person who's watching, because you have some control. But it's a massive thing. Getting the balance. It's a very short week between the two games for both teams, obviously, and there's a lot of work has to be done in the head there. You know, the euphoria of winning last week, and now you have to prepare for an All-Ireland final this week. Personally, I think it's not fair on the players. I think they should have got a longer break in between. Let's look after our club players, not shoehorn them into a final a week later. But in another way, it's a good thing too. You've no time to think about it. You get involved, and it's a massive experience and a lifelong experience, and something that will never leave you.
I think, Paudie, for the players, maybe the short turnaround is good because, as Benny says, you know, you just have to go straight into the next game. But as supporters, as a club, 2 weeks would have been just an ideal build-up to really embrace it and really get to enjoy it.
Yeah, it probably was a strange one, especially when the seniors were getting 2 weeks for in between their matches. Like, we would have thought we would have got the same, but it is what it is. Maybe it was linked to the leagues. Maybe Armagh's league starting maybe 27th of January, possibly that has something to do with it. But I wouldn't have thought any of the Cullyhanna players on the county team would be playing in the first couple of rounds in the league anyway. So I'm not really sure what the reason was behind it. But yeah, quick turnaround. We'd love this to go on forever. You know, we've 1 week of this, and you can see the crowd this here tonight. Like, just momentum building. But it's a quick turnaround, and I would say that, you know, the likes of Kieran McCreesh, if he's injured, you know, an extra week would have done him no harm. But at the same time, Gary Macken came in and done a great job against Hollywood. Gary's role probably wasn't really understood by looking at it at first glance, but he done a great man-marking job on Hollywood's number 6. He was a real attacking threat in their previous games, and Gary really stuck to his task manfully and done a real job for the team. So an extra week would help Kieran, but it's just another probably selection had it for Stephen and the boys, because are they going to maybe start Gary again, or are they going to maybe chance Kieran from the start, or vice versa? So selection headaches for the boys, but yeah, a week turnaround. But it's the same for both teams, so it's not going to be the winning or losing of the game. But as long as the boys come through that last game injury free, which I think they mainly did, no, we're happy. A week later, just get it done, get it played, and hopefully we'll be celebrating Sunday night.
And as a player on the short turnaround, would you have enjoyed that because you don't have time to meet people down the street and get talking to it about the game for half an hour, you can sort of coon yourself away? Or is the 2-week break, I think, ideal? I think everybody agrees on that, but what do you think of the 1 week?
Well, it is. It's ideal, a 2 week, for a lot of reasons. Logistically, for a club, but like Benny said, to enjoy what they did last Sunday, then automatically have to get back into preparation mode in terms of a night like this here, fundraising, which is so important. What you can generate off the back of a run like this, it's massive for a club. Tickets, logistics for the team, in terms of meals, buses, etc. You have a lot to do, particularly for the supporters here. It would be massive for them if you had a couple of weeks to it. But the only thing I would say, putting a player's head on, is it is what it is. All right, we're playing an All-Ireland final this weekend, and that is most important. You can't change it. It's the old saying, controlling the controllables. The game's on this weekend. It's not ideal. Maybe if Kieran had picked up that knock, certainly the extra week would have done him good. But again, that's one man's loss is always another man's gain. The players, their full focus is on recovering, a wee bit of tactical work, out and do a wee bit of skills the last session, your video analysis, whatever it is tomorrow night, and then it's Croke Park, whether that's Saturday night or Sunday morning, and that ultimately is all that's important this week. And yeah, for me, as long as you come through injury free and you weren't sitting up acing an injury all week or whatever, it couldn't come quick enough. As a player, all you want is to play. So for it, the opportunity to come for an All-Ireland final, and it's coming 8 days later after winning the semi-final, you'd just be buzzing. It literally couldn't come quick enough.
And Benny, we were talking about the Croke Park experience. There's probably very few intermediate club teams that have the Croke Park experience that Cullyhanna do. You have Aidan Nugent, Jason Duffy, Ross McQuillan, Mickey Murray have all played in Croke Park. I think Sean Connell too. You have Kieran McKeever and Malachy Mackin in the management team that have all played in Croke Park. So that could be key coming to Sunday. I'm sure them boys are passing on experience and advice and everything else.
I actually was just thinking about it driving over in the car. It is a huge advantage to have experienced that initial feeling. It's not new to them because it's an extraordinary stadium when you're coming out as a player. You're totally surrounded, and it can take a while to get settled into it. And obviously with Armagh, we're used to playing it in league games and things like that there, so it was never. But it's an advantage to Cullyhanna, I feel, definitely. The management team and the 3 or 4 or 5 players that you've mentioned there who have played in Croke Park, and they'll be able to pass that experience on as well, that it is, and the words will be, it's just another pitch, it's just another game, and all these things that you say. Everybody knows it's not like that, but the fact that you have, and Cullyhanna have experience, is a definite advantage coming into Sunday's game, I would say anyway.
And the short turnaround again, Aaron, it doesn't give you much time to focus on the opposition either. I don't know how much time Stephen and the boys have put into the opposition, but it maybe gives you the opportunity to just focus on yourself and focus on your own team. And obviously you've looked at the opposition a wee bit, but it's not ideal in terms of that sort of preparation either.
It is ultimately the biggest thing that Stephen and the management team can control is their own players this weekend, their own tactics, and I suppose that is a wee bit that the players can't lose sight of, is that as nervous as we talk about getting to as well, it is you're doing what they've done for a lifetime. That person who feels like he has the crack on the bus, who maybe like Benny or someone who might take it a bit more serious like me, don't step away from what you're used to doing just because you're playing a game in Croke Park. The same people behave the same way. That's a very, very important thing for them to do in the lead up to the weekend. But they're so used to each other, and what I always loved about the run that you get at this stage is the momentum that it brings. Like, you're mad to get to training again. Just the crack, the camaraderie, everything builds and grows the longer your season extends. So if you go back to that county final, which was middle of October or something like that there, you're talking another 2.5 months now of training, of fitness, of conditioning, of skill work. But camaraderie is massive, and then the crack that generates off them winning the Ulster here. We're there back in their own clubhouse as Ulster champions, the first time at intermediate level, like you said. How that knits you together as a team or as a club and a community, like, you couldn't underestimate it. I know the feeling. I've seen some of the videos of Terry and the boys playing tunes on the Monday, and you're sitting at work envious as hell because you know how good. Laying in bed.
Coffee for Joe.
The crack. That's what it's all about. Like for me, that's the bit that I really love. That there, you're able to just sit back, chill out, and just see the faces around you and see the joy that it brings. So that, more than anything else, tactically, has brought this team on. It's just created a bond and a friendship that, to be honest with you, there's no amount of training can do for you, because you have something special together now. So that is massive for them going into this weekend. But from speaking to some of the boys, Paddy Savage has done a huge amount of work in terms of stats, analysis, video work on the other team. You'd be foolish not to get an idea into their players, their strengths. Even the physical makeup of what I'm coming up against. Is he 6'5" or is he 5'5"? You know, you have to have a bit of an idea who's coming up to face you. But other than that, I wouldn't get a whole pile worked up. They, I believe, have a couple of boys who are around Cork squads. They'll probably be leaning an awful lot on John Evans. Like he'd won an All-Ireland club way back in '96 as the Lone Rangers manager. He's been in the county circuit since then. So he's a man with huge knowledge and huge experience. But I still would be advantage Cullyhanna because he can't play this weekend. Cullyhanna have 3 boys who are well used to Croke Park at this stage, so that's why I would fully agree with Benny that they're the people who can genuinely influence it once they cross the white line.
And Paudie, the last night we were here before the Ulster final, we had 2 men on talking about Ballyhaise and had plenty of experience of them. Us up here talking, I'm sure Stephen and Paudie and all the boys have done all their work on Kill the Martra, but we have no idea what to expect. I'm sure the majority of people in here don't really know what to expect.
No, definitely not. Probably your main focus there probably was their last game against Castlereagh in semi-final. They scored 2 quick goals at the start of the second half, were maybe 4, 5, 6 points up in the second half, but then they sort of sat back and maybe struggled and just about hung on in the end. Like they ended up winning that semi-final by a point, and they were maybe going into that game as big favourites. Ourselves and Kill the Martra, we would have been favourites for the All-Ireland from after the first round of Ulster, and that didn't change then going into the All-Ireland semi-finals. We were both going in big favourites. We got over the line by a goal and they just about hung on, won by a point. Tried to look up their names then on the team sheet then for just a wee bit of prep for this here, but they're from the Gaeltacht area in Cork, so I hadn't a clue. There was absolutely no help whatsoever. One of my mates texts me and says, look after your fella Deneen, but there was 4 or 5 Deneens and things, so I don't know which way he's talking about. But listen, as I was texting Stephen last night and I was talking to him, and he says the whole thing they've been doing the whole way along is looking after themselves. You know, yes, of course, as Aaron says, like they're going to have main players, they were going to have man markers on them. I'm sure we know who they are. But if you're coming from the Kill the Martra side, like you're going to have headaches looking after some of our boys. Like who's going to pick up Aidan Nugent, put your main marker, your main defender in him? Who's going to pick up Ross McQuillan, the open space for Croke Park? I wouldn't like to be running after Ross McQuillan in Croke Park on Sunday. And then you've got Jason coming from midfield. Like so, we're going to give them plenty of headaches as well. We don't know much about them, but they're in the same boat as us. So it'll all unravel on the day. So it's set up to be an intriguing game.
And Benny, how's your knowledge of Cork intermediate football?
Oh, listen, as much as my knowledge is of my love life, really very limited. I will say this, you know, we have mentioned Jason and Ross and Aidan, and you know, they're not going to win the game on Sunday alone. It's going to be players like Keelan Reevy and Shea Hoy and Piers Casey and guys like that there who will have to produce the game of their lives as well. And yes, Kill the Martra will be looking at the county men, but you know, Cullyhanna are very, very strong in other areas as well. And if they just decide, oh, I'm going to look at those 3 boys, they're missing a hell of a lot of talent as well. And that's, to me, it'll be where the game will be won. It won't necessarily be the county men, even though they'll have the experience of playing on Croke Park. That doesn't lend a lot when it comes to the white heat battle. It could be somebody else. It could be your goalkeeper, James Gallagher, for example, who has the win into this game. And if he's every bit as good at saving goals as it is at saving money, then he'll be all right. So, you know what I mean? Do not underestimate the Sean O'Garwins and the Micheál Murrays and the Tony Donnellys of this team, who have every bit as much Pierce, Barry McConnell, have every bit as much impetus in this game as Jason and Ross and Aidan, because they're the boys that'll do the work, the donkey work, the work to get into them boys, and it will also be on the end of it themselves, you know. So they have a huge part to play in all of this here. And if Kilnamata are only studying 3 players, then that could be their biggest failing.
And just on Kilnamata, Aaron, obviously you mentioned John Evans, their manager, who is obviously well known, but they're probably, the only thing I got when I searched the club was Noel O'Leary was from there. So if the team's anything like what he was, did you ever come up against him?
I did. As raw as ropes as they come, to be fair to him, you'd have to imagine that's probably a good gauge for the type of characters that you're coming up against, but we're in the right place for a crowd of boys that aren't going to back down. There's no fear of that there. I suppose if you're looking a wee bit more in depth as you're trying to, John Evans, he likes to chat, and he threw out a few spiels this week, and he was talking about changing sort of how they had been playing football this past few years and sorting themselves out defensively. I don't think he'd said they haven't conceded a goal at all since their county final. For me, that would be the biggest area that I could see Cullyhanna going after them. To win All Ireland, to win big games at Croke Park, you need to score goals. And Cullyhanna have a few boys who are well capable of doing that there. And I suppose if you go back to the whole thing of where you are, and it's easier said than done whenever you get to this stage, but if you're putting a player's head on, if you're sitting back and you're trying to look in, the further you go on, the more pressure comes on, or the more pressure you put on yourself, and the more you overthink situations. But if I was a Cullyhanna player now, and I wouldn't care a whole pile about the opposition, I would only care really about what you do yourself. I'd look at the county final. Obviously I didn't see it on the day because we were coming out afterwards, but I watched it back. It was the football that they played, the risks that they took, the movement up front, the link play was unbelievable. And again, I don't care who they were playing, it was that the players had their head up, the man was moving, someone was coming off to the shoulder. Like it was really, really slick to watch. It didn't look like it was intermediate football that was being played. That's what I'd be looking back at now. Ulster's a bit of a slog, weather's not great, pitches mightn't be great, then you're heading into an All-Ireland semi-final, you don't know a whole pile about other teams, and you can be overthinking stuff over Christmas. Look at that game and try to replicate and produce stuff like that there, because that's whenever Cullyhanna are the best. And I think if they go after these boys at the weekend, and particularly early on, and get a couple of goals, which I think will be massive, I think that'll be the big difference. But that's all in their hands, and that's the joy about having quality players like these boys have going to Croke Park. If you have goal scorers, it's massive.
I suppose that the way they play that day, Aaron and Benny, then maybe if it's the wide open spaces of Croke Park, that's usually what people say about it. Would that suit the likes of certainly Ross McQuillan, Jason Duffy breaking for deep, Keelan Reevey? If they play like that, then Croke Park's going to suit them.
Yeah, and don't get wrapped up in having to change your game. And Aaron talked about it there. You've a week of a turnaround. Everything has been done up to now has been great. The other thing that will stand to Cullyhanna in my respect is, you might know Pomeroy had themselves written as favourites to win an Ulster title in their head, and I was talking to people from Pomeroy who said that Cullyhanna won't live with them, and that we've all the answers to their star players. Now, they came through that game by the skin of their teeth. They won an Ulster final against Ballyhaise by the skin of their teeth, and they've been through a tight game last week as well. Okay, so we know character's not questioned here. We know that when it comes to a battle, Cullyhanna don't lay down, and that's key, because there are occasions on Sunday when Kilnamata will come at them and they will ask questions, but it's not like the Armagh Championship where Cullyhanna had it all their own way and were able to play that. They know what it's like to dig into a battle as well, and that's the thing that I like most about this team, is that they've gone to the well a few times, questions have been asked, they've gone behind, but they've come back. So there's fight in this team, and that could be an ingredient that will see them through on Sunday, that they know that questions have been asked. I know they've probably been favourites, as Paudie says, since the first round of Ulster, but favouritism will mean nothing on Sunday. I won more finals as an underdog than I did as a favourite, and that message is very simple as well. But I don't think there are any real favourites on Sunday. It's going to be a battle, but Cullyhanna have been through battles, and that's a massive, massive indictment for them.
Probably something, Paudie, that has been massive for them as well. Aaron mentioned Kilnamata haven't conceded a goal once they come out of Cork. Cullyhanna haven't conceded a goal once they come out of Armagh, and there's a couple of good saves from James Gallagher. Mickey Murray made a real good interception last week at the end. That's a big thing, that they haven't conceded a goal yet. That has been huge for them in their run to the final.
Yeah, probably. Both teams have two very strong defences. As you mentioned, like Martra and ourselves, they're both averaging maybe 10, 11 points against. And then the scoring front, Martra there in the last 4 games, they were averaging 17 or 18 points, and ourselves 14 or 15 points. So like two evenly matched teams on paper. It's all going to be on the day. We haven't conceded a goal in the last 4 games, neither have they. You could probably count on one hand the amount of actual one-to-one saves James has had to made, and that's a credit to his defence. And it's not just the 6 defenders in there. Like you only have to look back. I watched the match last night again, and like our forwards are working so hard. Like they are defending like Trojans from 1 to 15, and it's a whole team effort. It's not just the defenders that's in there in the main slots. Tony Donnelly's dropping back very effectively. They're all working defensively, and not only that, and defending well. Like we also got 2 points from defence on Saturday. Like Barry scored a good point in the first half. Sean Connell come up the field in the second half, kicked a great point, put us 5 points up. And the main thing that I liked about Sean's point was that there was actually 2 players ahead of Sean inside the 21, and they were Sean O'Gerwin and Neil McCreesh. So the defenders aren't afraid to break forward and take chances, because they know that the boys behind them that's covering their positions, they're confident in them, that they have their back, and whenever they break forward, somebody will cover for them. So it's 2 evenly matched teams. It's going to be a hard one to call. As Aaron says, I definitely think a goal would help us, and I think we will rather than that on Sunday. I think we'll need to, but we'll see what happens. But two evenly matched teams defensively.
And as a goalkeeper, Benny, when you have a string of games that you haven't conceded a goal, how much does that mean for your confidence?
Listen, it's a major. You come across. I know I come across as very confident, and things don't bug you. But as a goalkeeper, if you go on a run of letting goals in, you know what I mean. There's question marks all the time, and you can go through a dip. But the fact that James, I know Paudie said he didn't have to make too many saves, but when he has been asked to make saves, he's made saves, and I would have no problem with James and goals on Sunday as well. But his position now in the modern game is pivotal. Do you know what I mean? Go back 30, 40 years, and I might fall into that category, stick to fat getting goals, you know what I mean? But that whole dynamic is gone. Goalkeeper is pivotal. Defenders now play anywhere. Numbers mean nothing in Gaelic football anymore. So the likes of Sean Connell going up and scoring, and Neil McCreesh just beside him. That tells me that Cullyhanna have players, footballers who are willing to go up, willing to take a shot, willing to take a score. And the goalkeeping position, when James is asked to, he'll be grand, you know what I mean? And it's a big occasion for a goalkeeper who hasn't played in a big match like this here. But I can assure you, I made as many mistakes as any goalkeeper, but as long as you win the game, you don't care. And that's pivotal. And the other scenario, if you do make a mistake as a player or a goalkeeper, you just move on. You get on with it. And Cullyhanna have been doing that. They've made plenty of mistakes in the last 3 games, but they've been able to build on them and go back and fight. And that's the main ingredient.
And Aaron, goals are going to be crucial, obviously. Ross McQuillan got the all-important one last week, and could have had one in the first half as well, and Jason Duffy and Gary Mackin could have had one between them after about 10 seconds. So goals are going to be crucial. But just on Ross McQuillan, I assume you marked him a couple of times at club level. He's really come into his own this year. He's had a super year for Cullyhanna, injury free, and he looks like he's going to have a big year for Armagh too, hopefully, once he gets back in the orange jersey.
Yeah, obviously injury probably has just been the biggest issue that has hampered Ross, and that has been the biggest thing for him now. He's got a run of games in the Armagh Championship and carried it on. And the best thing, if you're trying to make that step up to the next level, confidence is massive. And the best way you get confidence is from playing football. And unfortunately, for one reason or another, and picking up knocks, he hasn't got a run of games with County, and then led into club seasons. Everything's been disrupted. So personally for him, that has been the biggest thing. And whenever he's going well, it's a huge lift to Cullyhanna, because give him the ball if you're under pressure. If you just need to get out at any stage, that's when he's at his best. Bit of open space in front of him, getting from one end of the field to the other. So yeah, you'd be delighted for him to put that in, because it's mentally draining whenever you're injured continuously, or you're picking up knocks and you're not getting the opportunity to showcase the talent that you know that you have. So yeah, it's huge for him, and he'll be really looking forward to getting to Croke Park this weekend. And I suppose the whole thing for me is it's just brilliant for Armagh to see a club team going so well, because you've been guaranteed you have 3 boys now coming back with confidence at an all-time high, genuine self-belief, not a flaky confidence, a genuine confidence in themselves and momentum behind them. So huge for the club. But I think in terms of boys who step back and then the county setup, they're coming in with the head up, the chest out, and that only adds to Armagh football.
His dad could play a bit of football too, Ross's dad. I know this because he told me often enough. You know what I mean? Martin, I'm good friends with Martin and always have been. And I said, great goal by Ross, and he said, a chip off the old block, by Snigger. So I went, yeah, only 2 differences. You would have killed somebody in row Z in the stand if you'd have kicked it, and he didn't have the wee tongue sticking out to be McQuillan ran the tongue out, you know what I mean? But no, it's good.
I was sitting watching it with Dad, and he said he doesn't have his father's feet. I thought Martin wasn't too bad.
I tell you, Martin hadn't bad feet, I tell you.
I thought that.
I seen him dance at a Minnie's wedding, I tell you.
Benny, I've lost my train of thought now nearly.
A lot of people do that with me, Sean.
The county set up the fact that Cullyhanna are doing so well, and it's been a while since an Armagh club team went on a run. In your experience, you won obviously your Ulster title, and Cross come along, won Ulsters and All Irelands. Does that feed into the county, that sort of confidence and everything? Does it?
There's absolutely no doubt about that. And I was actually talking to Tony Donaghy from Forkhill, my caretaker this morning. He was saying, the Armagh team was built from, there was 4 Mullaghmast men, and there was when Cross came in then after that, it was massive. But it was also the belief scenario. I can remember sitting at a meeting, and Tony and John, I think it was our first meeting, but we were playing Derry in the championship, and the team talk before it was, that Derry had caused us problems and had caused us problems in the previous decade, as I can testify to, and they were a bogey team for us. And I remember, I don't know whether it was John or Tony, went, they're a bogey team for you. They haven't been a bogey team for us. I think they're only 19 years of age, We've never been beaten by Derry. Never mind that they'd never played them, but that was his point, do you know what I mean? He says, so let's get rid of this, and you can see straight away that. Now, some people would term that as arrogance. It's not arrogance, it's confidence in your own ability, confidence in your own belief. And, with Aidan and Ross and who else have we got? Aidan,
Jason.
Ross and Jason. How did I forget the ginger? Do you know what I mean? But maybe more to come in from this. Do you know what I mean? Maybe more to come in from this. If they're the best players as we have, why won't there be more coming into the county panel? But it will, and it will bring county on. But forget about the county at the minute, lads. This is all about this club, and this club. Forget about the orange and white for a week. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully in the future we'll see them boys. This is about the red and the black, and it was great to see Cullyhanna flags. I drove to Blitz in Silver Bridge this morning, and happy faces on a big house torn up in Cullyhanna. I'd say there's someone on the bridge who'd rather see Glasgow Rangers flags up. But listen, that's rivalry, that's club rivalry, and as I said before, we're all behind Cullyhanna, but forget about everything else but Cullyhanna this week. We're all totally behind this, and hopefully that it all works out.
And something unique, Paudie, and it shouldn't be unique maybe, but it is that Cullyhanna's management team are all club men, so that maybe makes it that extra wee bit special. Like we were talking about John Evans, obviously an outsider over Killing the Martra. A lot of club teams have outsiders in now, whether managing or involved. So for Cullyhanna to have a management team of 6 or 7 men, all club men, all doing it for the love of the jersey, that makes it a wee bit more special.
Oh, it definitely does. Probably ourselves, like anybody else, like we would have went through a phase of maybe 6-7 years paying outside managers, and like we're no further on than what this team is today. Like the team today is performing better than what we had when we were paying outside men. Just Pearce had just mentioned something whenever he was accepting the cup in the Armagh County Final, that they had 140 training sessions done at that stage, and that was maybe in mid-October, as Aaron said. Like, the boys are on the road week after week. Like, I'd say they must be touching the guts of 200 training sessions over this past year to 14 months. So the time and effort that has went into that is actually unbelievable, and the fact that it's all home-based Cullyhanna men that's behind the team, it just makes it all that much more sweeter. And with that Cullyhanna management team, the players know that they have the best interests of them players at heart, and whenever there's a 50-50 ball to be won, or whenever you're getting into the last 5-10 minutes of a game, whenever you're up against it, them wee small margins, they add up, and I think it's only but a good thing that we have all Cullyhanna men, in the management team. Yes, it's good maybe some teams to have an outsider, you don't maybe want family influences or whatever. Like, for example, like if Stephen was the manager, he'd give Eugene Clear the year every year, like, it's alright, and that's Eugene Casey, one of our main sponsors there. It's 077 591 66900 for all your building supplies and needs, alright. But no, it's great to have all the Cullyhanna men involved, and we just wish them well on Sunday.
You've obviously had that experience, Aaron. Does that make it just a wee bit sweeter that it's all your own club men involved getting you over the line?
Yeah, particularly these boys, because to be fair to them, obviously they give everything as players for the club. But I know myself, they went in, I'm fairly sure, maybe 2-3 under 21 titles. It was the same boys who were involved then. So even while they were playing, you can do so much as a player, but they still were thinking, they were trying to influence the next generation that was going to come after them. And I suppose for them this weekend, you'd be absolutely thrilled for them, because yes, there was a bit of a lean period where obviously there was people going away and emigration, all that there sort of stuff, and there was that bit of a slump. But for those same boys who gave everything as players, who wanted to go back in to help the next generation coming through, to now be the men that are leading them to Croke Park, I think it's a brilliant time for them as well, in particular, as it is obviously for players and the whole community. But I'd be delighted for them, particularly if they could be the men that were leading Cullyhanna to an All-Ireland title, to go back into their own village. It would be an unbelievable achievement, and one that they've thoroughly earned.
I think we usually finish our podcast with predictions, but I can't see anybody going against Cullyhanna. Benny, no?
Who are they playing again? No, listen, I'm just shocked and amazed at how warm a welcome I've got from Cullyhanna tonight. Normally when I'm coming in through here, you're going, oh, look at that big-headed. I'll finish on a story that I've always wanted to tell in Cullyhanna. We've played Cullyhanna, God knows how long ago. I was about 21 or 22, but Cullyhanna finished the game with 10 men. I think it was out here, and Oliver Donnelly got sent off, shock horror. He'd only come on and he got sent off. I think Neil Smith was playing that day and he was causing a bit of a rack, and it was decided by the Cullyhanna management of the time, somebody go out and do that, man, will you, and get him. So I think 3 or 4 men came on. But I was recanting this story to Tom Rush last year on the golf field. He says, yeah, I said, remember the day he finished with 10 men? He says, yeah, Mickey Tom, yeah, Ollie Donnelly, yeah. You were sent off yourself. That's right, I was sent off too. Yeah. So, and he says, Tierney, don't you tell anyone. This is why I'm telling you. He says, when I actually came on that day to hit Smith, right, and I jumped up, closed my eyes, swung, and I hit Ollie Carty. So he says, so Tom Rush actually got sent off for hitting his own man. But I can assure you, he should have been sent off many other times and he didn't. But listen, it is, when I was asked Monday night to come here, I said, yeah, absolutely. I think, we're at an age now, we all have our club rivalries, we all have everything, and we have great memories, and we come in here. I would never begrudge a team, especially a local team like this here, a chance on Sunday to write history, to have a week or 2 weeks or maybe 6 months knowing Cullyhanna of enjoyment after it. I think you're very well equipped to win on Sunday, and God willing, you might need a wee bit of luck at some stage as well, and hopefully that comes your way. But it is insane in something. Local managers, Cullyhanna, local managers Cross, local managers Bullaban, whenever we were at our peak. So there's a lot to be said for that. But from my perspective, I think if Cullyhanna performed to what they're capable of, and I'm talking about all their players, not just the county men, I think it'll be a 2-point victory for Cullyhanna.
Yeah, I think we'll all agree we're going for Cullyhanna for victory. So look at that. That's a brilliant chat. Brilliant to chat to these boys. And I think Benny's story was the perfect way to wrap up the evening. Just a quick thank you to everybody. Thanks to Cullyhanna Club for hosting us tonight. Thanks for coming on board and sponsoring the podcast for this evening. It's been a great time tonight and the last time I was here. Great crack and great stories and everything else. So best of luck on Sunday. Hopefully you can get over the line and create a bit of history. And I just want to say thanks to everybody that come, and we'll all see you all in Croke Park on Sunday hopefully.